fade to black. All right. Going live in 5, 4, 3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for December 2nd, 2024. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, the industry comes out of its Thanksgiving slumber with ripoffs and delistings. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host to Game Mess Mornings. It's Emma Fyffe, everybody. Emma, how are you doing?
Hello. It's getting to be the end of the year. And the thing about the month of December being now is that, they try to fit in about a month and a half's work of work into about maybe 3 weeks of work. So that's where I'm at. I'm in that end of year crunch, rush, etc. It's good. Like, it's all good stuff, but I will be glad to have a holiday break. Let's put it that way.
Yes. Yeah, it's a lot. It all does have to get somehow snugged into a lot less time than it needs for sure. But it does remind me when I used to work at the FedEx warehouse during the holidays, and I would sleep there because it would just we could be going constantly. So busy time of year, and like you said, exciting stuff. We're looking forward to doing GB at night, of course, coming up the day before the Game Awards. Then our pre-show, our handoff to Mr. Keeley show right before the Game Awards. It's going to be a good time. Really looking forward to all of that, especially I should be looking forward to it because it basically is happening any minute now.
It really, truly is. It truly is. I know. I'm definitely fully at that. Like, starting next week, for example, like, I will be building our set for Giant Bomb at night on Monday. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing that build a week from today. So it's all coming up. I picked up some props for the background yesterday, so
I'm excited about it. Yeah. So
it's pretty good.
Other than that, you've been keeping up on any games? I got to the point where it's just so many different barely started things all falling out of my arms. I just decided I'll pick one that it isn't out yet, so I'm I can get ahead of the curve on at least one of these.
Sure, I totally get that. Right now, what am I playing? I got a copy of Lorelei and the Laser Eyes for PlayStation. I got a code for that. It is December 2nd, so I can say that I did. I have not had a chance to start it though, because I was away for Thanksgiving and just working on a bunch of stuff, but I'm very excited to play that because, I've heard really good things about that game. And I never got around to it. So when they said, "Hey, you want a PlayStation code?" I said, "Sure do." And then right now I am playing 1,000 Times Resist.
Oh yeah, that's what a lot of people are checking out right now.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm very intrigued by what's going on. So I've been enjoying that so far. I'm only just finishing chapter 1, so but it's great.
Jan, very excited that you're checking out that.
Good. I'm glad, Jan, that you're happy about my gaming choices.
I did boot up Lorelei and the Laser Eyes on my Steam Deck.
Oh, you did?
This morning, and then I didn't touch it. I'm I should be getting ready for the show instead. So I read some news and some reviews of Infinity Nikki, which apparently reviews are coming out for that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I have access to that. We should stream it on the site. We should just do that. That's what we should do this week, is some Infinity Nikki. But yeah, it's kind of all out, trying to catch up on some games, but that I'm I don't know. I'm really all I want to be doing is going back and doing those levels in Astrobot. Yeah. But I can never justify that. So I don't know. Maybe Mike will just say, "Hey, let's play more Call of Duty," and I'll jump in on that. Yeah. All right, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with this wild copy of Horizon Zero Dawn is just begging for Sony to sue. This comes from John Walker at Kotaku. As Nintendo gears up to take down Palworld for its aping of Pokemon game design elements, another high-profile court case seems inevitable with Tencent's announcement of Light of... I never even tried to say this out loud here. Light of Motiram? Motiram? I'm going to say Motiram.
Yeah.
A game that looks uncannily similar to Sony's Horizon Zero Dawn. To be clear, we're not saying, oh, hey, that kind of reminds us of Horizon. This is more a oh my good lord, what are they thinking? This is outrageous.
Yeah.
Light of Motiram is one of those cases where you feel safe to type the words complete ripoff without worrying about getting a letter from someone's lawyers. Yeah, that's the kind of, I'm like,
whoa. Okay,
yeah,
so I
taking a look at it. I'll get it up on the video
I did, and
I
this kind of like glazed by me because I think I saw this and I thought, why is there like Horizon news happening right now? I thought we didn't have any new Horizon games right now, or I thought it was like, oh, it's coming to some other platform or getting some update. I did not realize it was fully a different game.
Yeah, so I just put the image up on the video, so anyone watching the video feed, that image right there is not of Horizon. That image is of Light of the Motiram. And I don't blame you for being like, no, Jeff, that's Horizon. It's not. It's not. This is, there's just several examples here where it's just that game. So you can see here, like, let me bring it up here. Kotaku said, yeah, this one's from Tencent. Yes, like, this is the Tencent game. Emma, I am someone who is a little bit of a defender of copying ideas from other people. I believe like in fashion, where it's like it's a knockoff business, video games thrive when everyone could just steal ideas from everyone else.
Totally agree.
And then occasionally a ripoff comes along where I'm like, holy smokes, this is nuts.
So, okay, let's take the example of Palworld.
Yeah.
Yes, obviously, this is a Pokemon ripoff, sort of.
Yeah.
Wherein there's different game mechanics. It is taking the idea of Pokemon and it's subverting it. It's not just doing Pokemon again. That would just be, here's another game where you're a child who, for whatever reason, is 10 years old and being sent off into the world on your own to fend for yourself in a world that actually is inhabited by monsters. And you have to figure out ways to make your own disposable income in order to care for your monsters and survive. That would be a ripoff of Pokemon. Mm-hmm. This one has guns. So it's different. It's different. Exactly. Like Gorger in chat says, it should be protected as parody. I agree. It is a parody.
Oh, yeah.
This is, look, and I'm with you that, like, I think that there are a lot of really good games ideas, because no idea is original, okay? There's been too many years of the world. Somebody else has already had that idea. Right. It's the thing that I would always say in podcasting, workshops, panels at conventions when I would be on them was, yes, the podcast you want to do, and largely this was like an anime convention. So it was like, I want to do a podcast about Dragon Ball or whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, yes, there's a bunch of those, but what it's missing is your voice. And I think that happens in gaming a lot as well of, yes, this game is very similar to this other one. However, it has a different perspective. It has a different, art style, whatever the case may be. There's something original about it. This is just a straight Horizon clone, it looks like.
Yeah, so there are some gameplay differences because, hey, it's a mobile game. It's about survival and crafting. a little bit more than Horizon Zero Dawn ever was. But there is a Horizon Zero Dawn online multiplayer game coming. I bet that has survival and crafting. Whatever, though. Really, they're doing kind of very similar to what they did with Genshin Impact, or what happened. Like, it's very similar to what happened with Genshin Impact.
Sure.
Where, like, hey, we're trying to evoke Zelda Breath of the Wild here.
Right.
And this one's like, oh, we're going to veer even closer to trying to be exactly like the thing that inspired us.
I think that's the thing is that, yes, obviously you look at Genshin, and initially it was very much a Breath of the Wild clone in terms of
just the way they presented it at first.
Yeah, exactly.
Just that very first impression was, this will help us get the attention if people are like, hey, that looks a lot like a mobile Breath of the Wild.
Correct. But ultimately, the game is a live service game. It's continued to grow, and it is not Breath of the Wild at all. Like, it's not a one-to-one of, and if it were trying to be that, then it would just be a cheap Breath of the Wild knockoff, but it's become a lot more than that. And even from the beginning of the launch of Genshin Impact, there was always you have a team of 4 characters who you can circle through. The combat was extremely different. Like, there was a lot that was making Genshin different from Breath of the Wild. It's the same thing. There was a Ubisoft game that was like a mythology one. I'm totally blanking on what the actual title of the game was. Immortal, something like that. I don't know. Somebody in chat, I'm sure, will remember. But it was a similar thing where it evoked the idea of Breath of the Wild, this big, colorful open world. Right, yes. Phoenix Rising. Thank you so much. Immortals Phoenix Rising, which actually I thought was a very fun game.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
But again, it's like bringing up evoking that idea of something that is familiar, but ultimately not being the same thing.
Yeah. And I think there should be a wide sort of door that a developer can walk through with these borrowed ideas and borrowed aesthetics and presentations, the initial first impressions that they're trying to make by saying, hey, we want you to think of this game when you see our game. And that door should be very wide so that people can get through with a lot of things that are very similar to other things.
Sure.
So that maybe the ounce of new ideas that they do have can have an umbrella under which to thrive. And I think that probably should cover this as well. It's shameless. And I feel a little embarrassed looking at it, but so what? At a certain point, I think that, like a lot of other mobile games, when we look back in 5 years, if this thing is successful, it will have also changed in a number of ways, and we'll be like, remember when this thing just looked like Horizon? So, I mean, if Sony wants to do something about it, that is also their right.
Totally.
If I were them, I wouldn't. I think this thing's already been able to get a lot more attention just from all this, and good for them. At a certain point, I think it's it is creatively bankrupt, but again, so what? I just won't spend my time on it if that's how I feel, and if other people feel differently, I kind of don't want to stop them from being like, hey, maybe this mobile version is more my speed. I don't know, go play it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go move along here. Lego James Bond footage allegedly leaks, but don't expect to see it get made. This is from Darren Bonthuse at GameSpot. Several big film franchises have gotten Lego video game adaptations over the years, and at one point, developer TT Games was reportedly looking to leave players shaken, but not stirred, pretty good, with a Lego James Bond adventure. A sizzle reel for a proposed game starring the British secret agent briefly surfaced online, although it has since been taken down from YouTube. According to the original poster, via Eurogamer, the teaser was randomly leaked on a Discord server. Less than a minute long, the video shows off action inspired by decades of James Bond films, from Goldfinger to Casino Royale. As you'd expect from a Lego game that would have been further developed by TT Games, the proposed project looks like it would have included a cheeky sense of humor, with one example in the video being Goldfinger's main henchman Oddjob having an arsenal of hats to fling at Bond. Yeah, so it's like that would have been a very, very cool thing, I think, to a certain extent, but also I don't need everything to have a Lego game, so I'm kind of in between on this one.
I know it's very funny looking at chat right now because there's a lot of talk about Lego misogyny because James Bond. The thing is I think that they are a good example by which to lead your life, particularly in regards to the way you treat women and minorities? Absolutely not. But I love James Bond. I would have loved a James Bond Lego game.
And,
I think that's hilarious.
Could have like had fun with that, where it's like, all right, on to my next adventure, and it's just the woman from the last one, but she like just changes her hair. And, like,
exactly. She changed her hair
just to show how interchangeable they are, or something like that. Yeah, they could have poked fun at that, but
100%. Yeah, that's the thing is like the Lego games do poke fun at the thing that they are about.
Yes,
and so, and again, it's like I would want this, but I don't know. Lego does a clever job of like making their games kid appropriate by having very subtle humor. And yeah, I mean, I think that it would be pretty funny. I think that James Bond actually would be a great candidate for Lego games.
Yeah, it does sound like that is very unlikely to happen. The Lego group wasn't convinced due to the Bond films being violent and full of sexual innuendo, themes that went against the family-friendly nature of the company. The Lego group these days seems more willing to try different things in games, so it could potentially be revisited. Lego Game Museum on Reddit said in a separate comment. The biggest barrier for TT would be Warner Brothers forcing them to stick to owned IP, right? That's James Bond is a Metro, it's a MGM, Amazon. And that is not Warner Brothers, at least not yet. Give it time. Give it a couple years when they're all owned, but
when there's just one company.
Yeah. So yeah, I believe that Warner Brothers would be like, yes, let's just stick to the many IP that we're trying to promote. And they've done a lot of that. They've really just ransacked all the DC universe and Harry Potter and stuff like that. I guess I'm not sure what else they could do. To do a no, Rocky is also MGM, isn't it? I'm trying to think of a Warner Brothers franchise I care about.
Warner Brothers franchise.
Yeah. They kind of got like the couple there, and that's it. Yeah, so I think that I would love to see TT continue to try different stuff. At the same time, they probably are like, hey, these games are taking longer than ever. Look at Star Wars, the last one, which did very, very well. It was one of the best-selling games of the year it came out. But that means each one is a huge bet, and you got to like get it right. And I think the days of them being able to like take these sort of creative chances with the model that they're using is probably over, and we just get the very safe ones, and they restart Star Wars, and they maybe do Harry Potter, and maybe they go to Indiana Jones if like the new Indiana Jones game does very well or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. Outside of that, I think it's unlikely we get something as even as interesting as James Bond, and I think that's only limitedly interesting.
Yeah,
we'll see. What's the weirdest like Lego sort of game that you think that they could get away with, or that you would want? I'm trying to like.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have to give
7
credit.
Dan says 7. Yeah, that's not that weird.
Who said in chat? I'm trying to. Okay, so we have Lego Highlander in
Lego
chat.
Noobs. Okay, sure.
Yep. It was Nylock, and sorry if it's Nillock. My brother, if you spell Colin backwards, it's essentially the same thing, and we always said Nylock. Lego Dune is something that I think they could get away with because again, Warner owns it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Lego Oppenheimer. All right,
Lego Barbie.
Yeah. Just piece to piece, building a nuclear device. Yeah, sure. Why not? All right. Triangle Strategy has been delisted from the Nintendo eShop. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. Critically acclaimed tactical RPG Triangle Strategy has been delisted from the Nintendo eShop. A post on the official Square Enix account on Twitter confirmed that the game is temporarily unavailable, and that while it's set to return, there's no confirmed date for this yet. Triangle Strategy is temporarily unavailable to purchase on Nintendo Switch eShop, the message reads. Those who have already bought the game will be able to download it. We are working on this and will update when the game is able to be purchased again. This isn't the first time a Square Enix RPG has been delisted from the eShop. In March, Octopath Traveler was removed from the eShop, but it took more than 6 weeks to return. As is the case now, Square Enix didn't provide a reason for Octopath Traveler's delisting, but it was speculated that it may have been related to Square Enix recently acquiring the publishing rights for the game as they lapsed from Nintendo. So basically what very likely happened here is Nintendo, in some territories, maybe all territories, published these games on behalf of Square Enix on the Switch. And those rights lapse eventually, and they revert over to Square Enix, and then Square Enix needs to publish the game, like republish the game, I guess. So maybe that's part of the agreement. What's always annoying and weird is, well, you knew that was coming, right? You knew this.
Yeah, like, exactly. Couldn't you have been prepared for that?
Right. Well, why did it take 6 weeks in that one case? Is it going to take 6 weeks again? That's crazy. Just get it done.
I don't know. It's interesting because in, both cases, this was with a Nintendo property or a Nintendo published game. So it does make me wonder if it has something to do with Nintendo.
Yeah. Oh, and there's possibilities that hey, we would love to have been ready for this, but we're legally prevented from doing work, like submitting it for certification or something like that.
Yep.
And so we have to start all that stuff from scratch right now.
Yes.
Maybe. I doubt it.
Maybe.
I doubt it.
Yeah. Again, I don't know. It's just a light speculation, curiosity, shall we say. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if the publishing rights have lapsed, they're now theirs. In a few more weeks, they'll be able to publish it, and then it'll probably turn up on more platforms.
Do you ever play Triangle Strategy? It's one where
I sure did.
Yeah. Do you like it?
I did. Yeah, I liked the thing about Triangle Strategy was I loved the politics. I loved the world. I found the main characters who I was following to be a little lackluster. That to me is what made it not live up to something like a Final Fantasy Tactics. But overall, I did like Triangle Strategy. I liked the gameplay. I love strategy RPGs. So I did enjoy it. I just it didn't fully keep my attention because the main characters, I felt like they didn't really get enough development. And sometimes there was way too much jumping around the map to be here's what's happening in this corner of the world. And it's okay, I would kind of like to get back to the actual game now.
Right. There's a MetaQuest version of Triangle Strategy?
There is, yeah. I saw that too.
That's weird. I kind of want to try this. That's why.
I know. We do have a MetaQuest, so Gabe can keep boxing and I'll just start playing Triangle Strategy.
Man, I like it because it's you're playing around with the 2D sprites on a diorama and you're just moving them around. That's
you just physically move them as if they were chess pieces.
Yeah, I might give that a shot. I have this on Steam and I meant to play it. I never did. So I'm a Tactics fan. I would like to spend some time with this. Okay, yeah, I'll give that a shot. Maybe we'll do another rodeo or something, everybody. All right. Let's see. Did I do? Oh, yes. This next one is also a delisting story. Let's do that one first. All NASCAR video games are being delisted from digital stores next month. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. All NASCAR video games are being delisted from digital storefronts next month. This is due to the fact that Motorsport Games, the company that handles the rights to the popular racing league, recently sold the NASCAR license to iRacing. NASCAR 25 is planned to release next year on all consoles and PC. This change affects around 15 games, most of which are console titles. Ahead of the delisting, it's been announced that the games will undergo a discount in the next month so the players can purchase the games they are missing. After the games are delisted, players will still be able to play their previously purchased games. This is just always a weird thing. I mean, this is the whole league, I guess, is being licensed to a different to a different company, but I'm sure there's issues with licensing the vehicles themselves and things like that. There's probably a lot of sub-licensing deals that make this even more complicated, which always does seem to happen with vehicle-based games, car games. It's weird. It's annoying.
If they have any sort of basis in reality, then yes, because you're talking about cars that exist in real life, that have real life sponsors. So there's a lot of different licensors involved, basically. So that's look, this is not my particular realm of video games. When it comes to racing games, I'm pretty much strictly a kart racer. But yeah, there's, as Marino says, so many stickers on those cars.
That's right. Yeah. iRacing, I also not super my scene. I like, as simmy as I'm going to get is going to be a Forza. But my understanding is people really like the iRacing games, at least in the past. Maybe that's changed. I don't know. Seward over at Player One Podcast used to write for EGM. He's a big NASCAR fan, and I think in the last couple of years he's not been super happy with these NASCAR games. So I wonder if he'll be happy if they move on, and like the fan base will be like, hey, we're happy that this is no longer going to be with the developer it's been with. We want to see iRacing take a crack at it. But remember in the past when like we'd get like 15 different like games based on every sports league, like racing, and then like 10 different NFL games and things like that. That was clearly better, right? That was just a better time for these kinds of games in general, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, absolutely, and I think now you basically have one company that has the license to all of the sports, and it just there's just a sort of it's like it's creatively stunted, you know what I mean? It's okay, well, since there's nobody else that's able to do this, we don't have to innovate.
Right. Exactly. Yes. I mean, that was 100% the strategy behind EA getting Madden in the first place was we're getting real competition now from 2K.
Yep.
And there's two ways to compete. We could spend a lot of money innovating, and there's no guarantee that we'll be able to out-innovate them even if we outspend them. And we could also just go ask the NFL if we can have the exclusive license and give them a whole bag of money, and that will pay dividends in the long run because that will completely clear out the entire market of our competition. Everyone knows this story, but it's just frustrating. And there's not always the situation where a developer goes to the sports league and gives a bag of money. Sometimes there's just not that many developers that want to make these games anymore. So there's a lot of different reasons this is happening. But God, it was a time in the N64, the PS2, where we would just get a lot of different sports games for every single league, and it was you could just find the best one. Some would have different characteristics. There were a lot of arcade sports games, a lot of arcade racers, and that's just not the case anymore. It's a real shame.
I loved some ESPN Extreme Sports back on the PlayStation. You could rollerblade, bike, skateboard, or street luge.
That's right. What if it snowed in San Francisco? All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, plenty more to talk about, including a reverse NetEase, where instead of someone going from Square Enix to NetEase, someone's gone from NetEase to Square Enix. We'll talk about that right after this break. We're back. You always got to watch out for the reverse NetEase. Visions of Mana director leaves NetEase to join Square Enix. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. The director of Visions of Mana has joined Square Enix following the reported closure of the NetEase-owned studio that developed the game. As spotted by Knuble, Ryusuke Yoshida posted a message on X announcing the news. Although the Mana series is owned by Square Enix and it published Visions of Mana, it was developed by the NetEase-owned Uka Studios. However, following the game's release on August 29th, it was reported that NetEase had cut all but a handful of jobs at the studio and planned to close it. Visions of Mana director Yoshida has now revealed that he left Uka 2 months after the game's release and has now joined Square Enix itself. On a personal note, I quit NetEase on October 31st. Yoshida wrote, "We were a new studio, but we were able to release Visions of Mana. I am grateful to the development team and NetEase for their support. It was a very good experience. Thank you all." I think this is a good pickup for Square Enix, right? Where it's like, hey,
great pickup for Square.
You need to keep looking at other franchises and IPs that you own in the RPG space. You can't just go all in on Final Fantasy, especially when you're trying to figure out especially when they're trying to figure out like the
broader audience.
Like take your time figuring out what Final Fantasy is going to be outside of Final Fantasy VII Part 3. And while you're doing that process, you should still be the RPG company, right? And that means having studios and creatives that can handle that. And
Yeah.
hey, partnering with NetEase to make Visions of Mana was a good idea in the first place. Like, hey,
It was.
make those deals so that you can make that happen. When they pull out of that game, you need to, or when they pull out of that space, and NetEase is like, well, we're not going to be able to do the next one. We're closing that studio. Them stepping in and providing a place for this, at least this creative leader, is a good thing, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting because obviously with Square, they didn't sell as well as they wanted to on some big titles, particularly Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And, there's this whole conversation now about, the fact that they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot, having this deal with PlayStation, and they want to expand outside of that, which is all basically what I'm saying is like Square is making smart moves. They're aware of their shortcomings and they are taking steps to correct it. And to me, this falls under that because Visions of Mana was pretty well received and people really like those titles. I remember playing Secret of Mana when I was a kid. And, there are other, and on top of that, they had the Dragon Quest HD remake, which was incredibly well received. So I think that, they are aware of the fact that there are more than just Final Fantasy fans, and they have all of these other great IP that they can and should be doing something with, especially if you look back to the earlier days of Square, wherein, yes, they did have Final Fantasy, but you also had the Mana games and you had Chrono Trigger. And, they are realizing, I think, that Xenogears, yes, Dan Fiasco. So it's like the way that they're able to rethink their own strategy, like everything that they're doing is showing signs of the fact that they are interested in
and aware.
Yeah, and aware, which is, great and unusual to really see this kind of awareness.
They seem pretty serious about getting it right. They seem pretty serious about recognizing that there are issues, and I think everyone's got a different opinion on exactly what those issues are and why they prevent some of these games from breaking out. Whatever. I think the fact is they needed to know, hey, at first we need to diagnose that there is a problem and we're going to have to come up with the solutions on our own. That will be why we're getting paid the money. And we can listen to all the suggestions out there, but really we got to find our own way forward. But the fact that they are now here listening, like, okay, we are going to think about Final Fantasy in a different way. And we are going to maybe do fewer releases that are a little bit better and take some time to let's give these things some space. And I think if they come back in the next 5 years and they do have, and they announce a Final Fantasy 17 that really hits, and they they come with maybe a Chrono sequel, I think that they could very easily find themselves back in the conversation of, they are building up a fan base in a way that Persona has been recently.
Right. And I think too that, by getting back into these other spaces, the Dragon Quest, the Mana spaces, those games are not as expensive as Final Fantasy because they don't think of them as being their flagship title the way they do Final Fantasy. And I think that you can learn a lot from reactions to your smaller games. Again, it's the thing I've been preaching all year long about film and television, that let's not make anything that costs more than $10 million. I think that in the gaming space, there's a lot to learn there as well.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And I think, they canceled a lot of stuff recently. And I think that they, refocusing on what has worked, which has been like Dragon Quest. Those games have, Dragon Quest 11 very well received and has
well received.
It's only seemed to grow in estimation in the last couple of years. It's that is already a long running franchise, obviously, but it does feel like it's building a similar sort of crest, a similar sort of wave as Persona and some of these other RPG franchises. So it's like, okay, can we maybe add to that a little bit, and then can we do something similar with these other ones? And it's like the good news for Square Enix here is. There is an RPG audience that wants this stuff real bad.
Definitely is.
And it does seem like that is only getting bigger as more people playing these giant RPGs become people's entire personalities. And Square Enix needs to find a way to be the thing that they're thinking of as actively as an Atlas right now.
Absolutely.
It's possible. And I think it will. I think Dragon Quest 12, and we haven't heard about that in forever. When that comes out, will be just fine.
Right.
And then Square Enix filling in the gaps with other stuff from like a director like this, that will really help.
But it's like, even to your point about Dragon Quest 11, another coworker of ours, our event director, Zach, he was talking to me about how he's playing Dragon Quest 11 right now. And, he definitely is a gamer. Like, he plays video games, but Dragon Quest 11 is not where I thought he was going to go when he was saying, oh, this is the game I'm playing right now, and I'm really enjoying it, and I find it really relaxing. So again, it's like the desire is there. And I think that Square does have the opportunity to capture even more casual people, particularly with some of their titles that are not Final Fantasy. Yep. So
definitely. All right, let's keep going here. Epic Mickey rebrushed sales have been slower than the publisher expected. This is from Jonas Mackey at Game Reactor. Many people were delighted when THQ Nordic announced earlier this year that Epic Mickey was making a comeback in refreshed form, with development led by the team behind SpongeBob SquarePants: The Cosmic Shake. In September, Disney Epic Mickey Rebrushed finally premiered, and we gave it a pretty good rating, but noted that it was developed with so much respect for the original that even its flaws remained. Since then, we haven't heard much, and now My Nintendo News points out that there might be a reason for this. According to owner Embracer, sales have been slow, and in their latest report, they write, the most notable new release, Disney's Epic Mickey Rebrushed, late in the quarter, was well received by players, but initial digital sales were slower than expected. What do you think happened here? Is it just maybe the Epic Mickey name was already a little bit tarnished from the previous two releases, being something that kind of people got excited for and maybe got a little burned by?
I think there's a little bit of that. And I mean, I think some of it is the oversaturated gaming market.
Right.
Because I was aware that this was coming out, but I totally missed it actually being released. Like, this is happening to other large titles as well, like long-standing IP, not just Disney, but I was having brunch yesterday with some people, and my buddy AJ was like, oh, did Echoes of Wisdom come out? It's kind of an oversaturated market. So it's like difficult to know when these things are even happening unless you are somebody who's actively paying attention in a way that goes beyond just kind of, oh, it comes up for me in general advertising in my internet browsing.
Yep. It's the kind of thing where, when you already have a lot to play and you're kind of keeping a mental list, something like this easily gets set aside. You're like, that is something that's been out for a while. I can always come back to that when I'm ready. And then I think a lot of people do that collectively, and then it kind of creates this void where people aren't talking about it, so it doesn't rise to the level of like, oh yeah, I should play that for many others. It's also, not to cause an aneurysm for Mike Minotti and give a win to Dan Reichert. Like, my kids weren't asking for this. I think I even brought it up to them a little bit, and they're like, yeah, sure, maybe.
Right.
Now we did get back from Disney. Maybe that would change. I think I'm still going to go put this on in front of them and see what happens. But hey,
what are your kids asking to play? Like, that's something that
Tiny Terry's Turbo Trip has been on two devices constantly this entire Thanksgiving weekend. It's been on the TV, on the mini PC connected to that, and it's been on my Steam Deck because they like my account because I beat the game, so I have everything unlocked. There's my old Steam Deck; they can play it on there. They want to play it on mine, so it's been a hassle for me.
Yeah.
I have been trying to track down a plush of Tiny Terry because they both made their Christmas list. I think they both put Tiny Terry on there, and I'm like, kids. Come on. And then they, they tell me, they're like, no, Santa's magic. He could just make it.
He can just make it.
You bastards.
Come on, Dad.
You little bastards. So I did reach out to the developer. Sounds like maybe we can make something happen.
Maybe we can make, that to me is, that's all I need to know, because I feel, anything that is Disney, recognizable, Mickey, you can imagine, oh, this is something that a child would be asking for.
Yeah.
But like all the kids I know, they still want to play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. You know?
Yeah, yep. That and before that it was Tears of the Kingdom nonstop, and they haven't played that in a couple days
yes,
now
yes. My 10-year-old nephew played Breath of the Wild and also Tears of the Kingdom. Like he loves it. But yeah, I mean, like his younger brothers, like they want to play the Paw Patrol game and Mario Kart. Yep. Like that's it.
Exactly. All right, so let's keep going here. Animal Crossing Pocket Camps microtransaction free version is out now for $10. That price is going to double soon, though. This is from Eddie McHugh at GameSpot. We talked about this a couple months ago, but Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, a free-to-play game launched in 2017 for mobile devices, is getting delisted, but is now available in a complete edition instead for $10. So,
yes.
I mean, delist is maybe not the right word. They're updating the game to be this complete version that it's going to have everything. You can just buy it as a video game, and that will be how it lives from now on. Again, very cool that they're doing this. I'm going to go out and get it.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely get it. Regardless of whether or not I end up playing it, $10.
Yeah,
might as well get in on the. I think it's very smart marketing on their part to have this period of time wherein it is $10 for a complete game. Yeah, I'm gonna buy it. I'll probably check it out.
Yep. Yeah, and of course, people like the FOMO marketing. This happens all the time, where there's a initial price decrease, and you got to act now, or else you miss out on it. Yep, that's an old trick.
Yep, it's an old trick.
Yeah, I sort of can't get too up in arms about these things because I'm like, they're doing that thing that everyone does. Let's see. Before we get the Infinity Nikki reviews, there is the PlayStation 30th anniversary thing that they did where I guess you can replace the boot up sequence with previous boot up sequences.
Oh my God.
Let's see here. I might not play the audio. I'll enable external media.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll play the audio a little bit. Let's see here.
Yes.
Contains some spoilers. Please proceed with caution. Is this the whole thing? Maybe it's the wrong thing. Actually, let me see what Tom Warren did here.
I just want that classic OG PlayStation.
Yes, me too. That's my favorite.
Yes.
and then it goes to it's just 30th anniversary after it does the original Sony Computer Entertainment thing, and then it goes into your PS5. So that's awesome. Yeah,
I love that.
Also, if you haven't seen it, this PlayStation 30th anniversary trailer. It's about you. Thank you for 30 years of play. It's very, very good. People should watch that as well.
Yes.
But yeah, I love this. Apparently, you could just go in the settings and you could set it to be the boot up sequence from PS1, PS2, PS3, or PS4. And you can set that, and then there's a special 30th anniversary one. I don't know what that is. I don't know why you would do anything other than the PS1 though. Personally, I
totally agree.
I know people love.
I guess there's some people who are younger than me.
Yes, and a lot of people really do like that PS2 boot up sequence. I do too.
Yes,
but the PS1 is just it clears. It's above them all.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to do a ranking of console boots for UPF. I think they did that over at at Remap. I think is where they did. I was going to say Next Line, but I think Remap did it, and I think they did it during their big live show. And I was watching some of it, and when I was there. I was watching when they got to the PS1, and they were all like, "We're going to create a new tier above everything else for this." So I'm like, they know what they're talking about. Hell yeah! I'm glad they gave respect to the one that deserves it. All right, Infinity Nikki reviews are up and beginning to drop. Not everywhere, but a handful of places. Jessica Orr at Eurogamer gave it 4 stars and says, if nothing else, it sure is nice to see MiHoYo have some proper competition for once. I suppose this game plays more like Genshin Impact than I realized. And I know I'll be still be returning to Miraland whenever I'm in need of a mood boost, whether that be in the form of humming along to catchy tunes while whim cycling, that be in the form, whim cycling my way towards hot air balloons, or laughing at the melodrama in the future story updates. I hope Infinity Nikki manages to find an audience, because if it becomes the Genshin Impact killer I know it has the potential to be, well, I'm excited to see what kind of game could possibly rise to become the Infinity Nikki killer in another 4 years or so.
Wow.
Infinity Nikki is that like dress-up game, free-to-play game. It's on PC. It was in the Game Awards or Summer Game Fest. Maybe it must have been Summer Game Fest.
It must have been Summer Game Fest, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess also a place like Genshin Impact. I have access to this thing. I haven't.
Is it like is it gacha in that it's similar to Genshin Impact?
I think it is gacha. Yes.
Yeah,
some
it's
of the
gotta
reviews I read
be,
mentioned some gacha. Yeah. Osama Mahmood at DualShockers gave it an 8 out of 10. Says Infinity Nikki is a delightful dress-up experience worth checking out on a whim. Its creative gameplay provides countless opportunities to create a perfect look for Nikki, with near limitless clothing options and accessories. Nikki always looks perfect. While the open world may sometimes feel bland, the various activities and puzzles you discover pull the engagement levels back. Even during its uninteresting story beats, it'll surprise you with an awe-inspiring set piece that'll make you adore the quality and effort put into the details. If it continues to expand the charming world of Mira even further with new story arcs and events, it'll surely be a top-notch adventure title that isn't too dependent on the controversial gotcha elements. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I remember playing Genshin Impact at launch and thinking, yes, the gotcha mechanics, I see how these are going to be addicting, but I felt the game was playable even without spending a bunch of money on the gotcha mechanics. That was at launch. I'm sure that is not the case anymore. I did not keep up with Genshin Impact. But this is an interesting point. Going back to the first story we were discussing today about the Tencent using Horizon visuals to make a new game, in that, again, you with Genshin Impact, you start by invoking that feeling of Breath of the Wild. People show up to play it, and then it becomes its own entity. And so now you have this game that is visually not like Genshin Impact.
Right.
I mean, it definitely has cute characters, but the art style is very different, and et cetera, et cetera. And this is a variation on what became the game that rose to be the dominant gotcha game. And as, you know, the various reviewers are saying, you know, specifically like Jessica at Eurogamer, it is, it's good to see that it basically, this is a positive reaction to the existence of something like a Genshin Impact.
Yep.
And this just shows that, again, if you have an idea and you have somebody else who goes, ooh, okay, there's a market for that, and they take that idea and they expand upon it and they make it their own, then you end up with something more interesting.
Yeah. Did that Persona mobile game ever come out that is like a lot of these MiHoYo games? Was it the Phantom X?
I don't know.
Maybe that didn't come out yet.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, that's the other side of this is these traditional developers and traditional IP are like, we could just do that. We could just have one of our own instead of having these ones that are like, hey, you know, this game's kind of like a Persona, but it's not, but it's, you know, mobile and it's a full RPG right here on your phone. Don't you want that? And people are like, yes, please. And then some of these other companies are getting left out, but, you know, Persona's going to have their own, I guess, soon. I'm looking it up. Persona, the Phantom X is coming out. It's out in China now. Okay, an open beta. I see. All right. One more a review quote here from danreichert.com for Infinity Nikki says, it's an anime perv thing. And what else did he say? Yes, if someone's looking too hard at anime, I'm calling the cops. So there you go, everybody. Just watch out. The anime police are out there.
Yep. I want to see Nikki play Infinity Nikki. I think that's a stream. It's just called Infinity Nikki.
Yes, I think we can make that happen. I was just thinking, like, I know a way to make that happen right now. Okay, let's see. That does it for the headlines. Got a poll question. Let me get that up and Adam. While I do that, Emma Fyffe, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm on Blue Sky now. That's the place to be, y'all. So follow me on there. I actually use that one. And I'm also on Instagram, just at Emma Fyffe. Honestly, if you just look for Emma Fyffe on Blue Sky, it's me too. I've been going in to try to change my at dots because I own emmafyffe.com. So I'm working on that. I just did something wrong when I was trying to do that. And also, as Siegfried points out in the chat, thank you so much. my husband's company, Boss Fight Books, has a humble bundle right now where I believe it is $18 for a large collection of
That's
ebooks.
awesome.
So if you are an ebook reader, this is a really great deal. It also supports a charity that goes to the prevention and care of malaria. It's one of Gabe does a ton of research to basically make sure that the money that's going to the charity, it's the maximum amount of money that can be going to it. So you should definitely do that. And then, of course, if you go to bossfightbooks.com as well, it is Cyber Monday. So there's all kinds of deals going on there. So yeah, that's my shameless nepotism promoting my husband's company.
Yeah, definitely take advantage of those deals, everybody. It's
yes,
Cyber Monday. Get in there, get that before they're over. Okay, let's see here. Poll question from before the Thanksgiving break: if Sony acquires the parent company of From Software, will FromSoft games in the future be exclusive to PlayStation? And the results here are interesting. 49% say no, 51% say yes. So basically 50-50, split right down the middle. People, I think a lot of people probably on each side are pretty sure, but overall, I'm a little uncertain about the future here. I kind of go back and forth a little bit, but I tend to lean towards most of the games that come out of From Software. If Sony Corporation were to acquire Kadokawa, the parent company of From Software, big part of that deal, of course, is, as everyone always points out, is the tons of anime and manga IP that Kadokawa owns.
Under Kadokawa Shoten,
but Sony would still be very happy to have From Software, so it's not like they would like, well, no, just From Software, go free. That wouldn't happen.
No.
But, the From Software's games are only getting bigger, and they're kind of to the point where it's like they're so big now, it doesn't make sense to make them exclusive.
Yeah.
Outside of, hey, if they acquire them and they do something like a Demon's Souls or a Bloodborne follow-up, maybe because those Sony owns those IP, maybe that is exclusive.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe a more pick and choose situation.
I was gonna say I don't know that it would be exclusive. I think the worst that would happen is there would be some timed exclusivity.
Right. That sounds plausible. Right. There's just room for them to do something here that wouldn't be like, and it's available on Xbox Day One as well. Maybe it does take some time, like Indiana Jones, like what's happening there. But I think the games are just too big, and the sales potential is too large to ignore. And so I think if you have a FromSoft, you kind of have to keep putting their games out everywhere going forward. If I were them, that's what I would do. All right. New poll question: what is the best PlayStation boot up sequence? PS1, 2, 3, or 4? We'll get that posted up on the YouTube community channel. You could vote there. Just go to youtube.com/@giantbomb and the community tab there. You can vote. We'll get the results of that and talk about it here on Game Mess Mornings on Giant Bomb on Wednesday. Speaking of Giant Bomb, tomorrow, Tuesday, Bombcast will be back. Wednesday, we should have a Blight Club, I think. It should be a mostly normal week this week, other than we are also going to be in a lot of meetings still because of things coming up next week. But yeah, for this week, we'll try to get as much normal stuff done as possible. Maybe do an Infinity Nikki stream or something like that. Should be a good time. Okay, let's see here. Anything else that I need to mention or take care of? I don't know. I think we're good here, Emma Fyffe.
Yeah,
thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games.
Of course, yeah. Happy to be here and to beat the news.
Yes, we got out ahead of it and we put it in its place. You'll get back there. It does feel like we came back from Thanksgiving. Is there going to be a lot now that everyone's sort of like Europe has been waiting for us to come back to where I think everyone else in this industry kind of just begins to take time off right around now.
Yes.
Like through the end of the year. Like you might have noticed like a lot of big service games and big services and GPUs all got big updates right before Thanksgiving. That's like the real deadline. They want to get that stuff done so that they don't have to work on it going into Christmas. Now some still will, but
officially let's circle back after the holidays season.
Yep, definitely. So might not be a lot to talk about, but we will find stuff to talk about. And of course, the Game Awards will be here and then we'll have stuff to talk about after that. So looking forward to it. All right. Thanks again, Emma. Appreciate it. Thank you everybody for listening and watching. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself. And goodbye.